This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our first virtual KLDC board meeting for the month of April. As I was saying, this meeting is going to be recorded and posted on our Kingston Live website after the fact. A transcript will also be created, from this meeting and posted there as well. We don't have a large agenda today, but I really do appreciate everybody being able to hop on. If anyone has a question and I'm able to see you, if you could raise your hand to be able to let me know that you have a question or a statement that you want to make, I can call on you so that we're not all talking over one another. Again, if you're on the call, you're just going to have to chime yourself in because I can't necessarily see you. Again, I'm glad everybody is doing well. I know that it's been a difficult time in our community over the last month or so. A lot has happened, a lot is happening, but I felt that it was good for us to be able to get together because as the Kingston Local Development Corporation and because of such a large, economic change to our community, we thought that it would be good to be able to have a discussion to see how KLDC can help support our local business community. I was, recently in some discussions with Alderman Tallerman about ways that we could potentially help support our Kingston business community, and I talked to him a little bit about the small business, micro loan program that we have, and we were kicking around some ideas on what the city could do to be able to help support and better support that loan program, potentially with some grants or other, mechanisms to be able to make the loan program a little bit more, exciting, if you will, or helpful for businesses here in Kingston to take advantage of. We did do some legal research on that, and we did get back an opinion from the New York State Comptroller's office that it indicated that cities cannot necessarily loan or grant funds to businesses, which is disappointing, unless there was an act in the legislature at the state level that would allow us to do so. And so the city of Kingston as an actual municipal entity is somewhat confined as to what we can do within our powers. But there are, again, I think that this micro loan program could be something that we could roll out or to do a better job of getting out there. And I'd like to be able to hear thoughts today in particular about if there are any changes that we would want to make to that program to make it more accessible and more relevant to what our small businesses are struggling with right now. We do know that there are some, federal programs like the paycheck program and some others from the SBA. I think we also probably have already heard, and as I heard this morning, is that that is almost out of money at this point. And, there are way more applications than can be, managed. And so I think that it's not going to be, we're going to have to come up with some other sources to be able to help. And so, I'd love to hear thoughts. I think that my thought initially is that one, I'd like to be able to see what marketing we could do to help get this message out to our small businesses that we have this funding available. And two, because interest rates have just plummeted, because of the interest rate reductions almost down to zero, our rates, I don't think, are as competitive now. I mean, there are some banks that are probably even able to beat our rates almost at this point. And so, I would like to suggest us going or considering going to either a no cost loan or a extremely minimal interest rate, somewhere less than 1%, to be able to kind of make our funds a little bit more beneficial. And if we can reduce closing costs or not have any closing costs or any application fees, I don't know. I mean, I do know that our small businesses are struggling, and I'm interested in hearing from folks, what ideas we have, and to see if we can, come up with some of those. So I don't know who wants to start, but I know that the finance committee has been chatting about some of this stuff and about the loan program. And so I don't know if you guys want to start with some thoughts that you may have, but again, that's kind of really the main topic for today's meeting.
This is Rich Matthews, and I finally figured out how to get on.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Mayor.
About time.
Hey, Rich.
How are you, Miles?
BA, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure myself, Rich, but from the Finance Committee, we had taken a look at the existing micro loan program, and the bones of the program are very basic, and we feel pretty solid. You had mentioned, Steve, as far as a marketing or an outreach, which is probably where the biggest challenge is going to be, just to make the public aware that this program is here. We've been doing this now on and off for a couple of years, and we really have not had a whole lot of takers to it. We had funded it last year with approximately $75,000, and we've had one loan that's been taken since then. So there certainly is opportunity for us to promote that in a different manner, and that I'm not sure how to do. The concerns that the Finance Committee had was only because we do anticipate that there will be a large number of folks that would look to apply. Do we reduce our underwriting, our evaluation? Do we change that part of it to maybe minimize or to perhaps open it to additional folks? We truly thought that the Finance Committee, our purpose is to evaluate the applications coming in. And as a banker, we do need basics. And we think that the basics that we ask for, which are tax return information, just some kind of a letter, a game plan of what the folks are looking to do, credit report information, that's basics that anybody should want to see. So we really didn't want to recommend changing that. Interest rates, right now, our largest interest rate is at 4%. And that's if an individual is looking to borrow for 72 months. And then it scales down from there. Not unreasonable. The difference between a 4% note at $7,500 and a 1% note at $7,500 is probably about $12 or $14 a month. So the change isn't all that great with the minimal interest rate. So again, that is something obviously for discussion, but it's not out of the realm even in today's super low interest rates at 4%, which would be where our most expensive product would be. So as I said, from the Finance Committee, we got talking about it, and we do feel that the bones of the program are very good. We feel that what we ask for in the evaluation that we do before we would present that to the full board for decision is pretty solid. So from that perspective, we really don't recommend any changes.
BA, I just have a question.
Yes.
And that question is, did everybody get a copy of this micro loan program did you send everybody or email everybody a copy of this?
Of the program, the application description itself, I did not, no.
No, I'm saying the micro loan program, basically what we had discussed.
Oh, I did. The email, the cover note, I did send that out to everybody yesterday afternoon, probably around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was later in the day, yeah.
And I just want to refresh everybody's memory that it says in the second paragraph under Mandy there, it says, in theory, we all agree that we should do something to help our local businesses, and that we've always been a mission of the KLDC. But in discussion, we also feel we have a very solid microloan program in place. And while the current situation may give us an opportunity to market it more forcefully, we do not feel there should be any significant changes to the program. And I think that's pretty much what BA has said. So, I mean, it's a board decision about how much money we want to put in there, but I don't know where we are. We have money, but we also are trying to develop the park. Has anything happened with that?
I don't know of any updates since the last board meeting we had, but Mandy, do you have anything that you want to add at this point?
Sorry, I had to find the microphone on here. No, I've shown the park to a couple of people, but, and I was working with the county, but we haven't heard anything back yet.
All right, thank you.
There is sizable.
So we don't know what our exposure is going to be on the park, you know, what we're going to need money-wise. You know, we can leverage it for a loan or whatever with a bank, but, you know, I don't know that that's a good idea.
All right, thank you, Rich. Pat, I think you are up next.
Yep. Thank you. I just have a couple of, I just have one question, and then I have a couple of comments and suggestions. BA, can you review the criteria for permitted uses for the microloan?
It's pretty well wide open, Pat.
It is.
Yeah, as it was discussed, it was left as generic as possible to allow folks to come in pretty much for any reasonable application for their business.
Okay.
You know, I don't believe we've ever tried to limit it. Obviously, it is a component of financing in addition to owner equity, traditional bank financing, KLDC. So we kind of left it as open as possible. So.
Right. Okay. I recall that you said that in your note. And then Mandy, if you could just tell us start to finish, if it's a typical loan application, how many days would it take us to deliver some money to somebody? Is it 60 days, 90 days, 30 days? What could we do?
Well, the timing for that isn't the issue. It's everybody agreeing to give the personal loan. I can cut the check today. They could have the money today. It's just a matter of everybody agreeing whether or not the loan, you know, is something that they want to do. It's always been that way. Well, actually, I take that back. I could cut the check today, but George has to take care of all of the legal aspects of it because there's an agreement that has to be drawn up. So, and George is working, I believe, with a limited staff at the moment. So I don't know how long it would take him to pull something together.
And generally, we have applications that are, you know, say due by the 1st of the month. Those applications go to the finance committee, get reviewed, then get given to the full board. Sometimes that could happen in the same month. Or, well, the finance committee meets, say, in the middle of the month, and then the board meeting a few weeks later, you know, could approve it. And so I would say that then between the legal work and Mandy's work, you know, we're probably in the 60-day range of getting someone from, you know, application to approval and potential check cutting. Is it
right? That's what I thought. Well, so my thought is this: you know, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but as I look at the business community in Kingston, I basically see two big groups. I see the banked and the unbanked, or, you know, people who do not have a banker that they want to call right away because they have a personal relationship with that person when trouble hits. For people who have banking relationships, this could be a nice part of the package that the bank has already made them aware that they need to apply for, right? I mean, I've had my own business for many years, but now I'm working for someone else, and she got a call right away from Key Bank, getting her to apply like as soon as the money became available. Other people, they just don't have those relationships, and so they're going to be left behind. But if we could deliver a microloan in 60 days, that will probably arrive faster than these federal programs that people are applying for. I know individuals are starting to get the $1,200 now, but I don't know any business that has gotten money yet. So that it could be part of the package. Did someone?
I just want to add something. On the second page, in the second paragraph, it says, as the KLDC, we are unable to offer funds as an interest-free or grant program due to a previous audit finding by the New York State Controller's Office, which stated that as an LCD, we can't offer grants. So that's, I think, one of the problems that we have to deal with. You know, I mean, I think we have to be as understanding as we can, and I don't want to shut anybody out, but I would say 60 days is even a long time. I would think that, you know, even with the way things are going now, with the way we're doing things, and you can't meet, you know, we're going to have to find out what the rules are, you know, moving forward, so people can get the money quicker.
Right. Yes.
Uh,
It would absolutely
I,
make.
I would,
Just one more thing, BA. I know your point about it's only $12 a month difference to go from 4% to 1%, but the marketing and the psychological difference is huge, right? If Steve or Mandy is able, and all of us, if we're able to go out and talk about a 1% product, that's so different sounding than 4%. And I know you're right, it's a minor difference, but so that's another thing. Something that I could do, and maybe I could cajole Miles, good morning, Miles, into helping me with is, you know, we both have relationships with people along Broadway, and it wouldn't take us that long to survey the type of businesses that are more apt to be closing their doors soon because they just can't withstand this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea because I think there's going to be a lot of small businesses within Kingston that's going to close because of, you know, just the environment.
Yep.
well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is an immediate need for operating capital from a lot of small businesses, specifically restaurants. So if you had 50,000 in your operating budget, you know, now it's down to 10, and you're not sure where the rest is going to come from in the next 6 months, you're probably going to close. So I think an infusion, I think there are other products out there, like a quick infusion of $10,000 from Community Capital New York, and that's just a quick credit check that they would then issue a $10,000 loan to you for. I think marketing in a similar way, a quick infusion of $7,500 to a small business that is in need at a 1 to 4% rate is a compelling argument. So I do think what we have is compelling, but it's just a matter of getting it out there. I'm not sure the best channel, but obviously we have Pat and others here that can push it out.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I think we're concerned about the fact that we have written off over $1 million worth of public funds here, and that we took us a while to get steady again, and we are steady again. So we should have some type of collateral, even if it's a 1% loan or not. You know, I mean, we can discuss that at a later date, but the board has to decide, I think, at this meeting, whether we want the microloan program and whether we want to add to it, knowing that we have money to spend, at least what I understand, if we develop the business park. We want to make sure we have money for that.
Sure. Alderman Tallerman, go ahead.
Hi, guys. My take is that people are scared. The small business owners are absolutely frightened, and the idea of taking a loan, even at 1%, if there's recourse where they're liable for that loan, they don't want to take it. You know, even if we market it, I think market the loan to make people aware of it. I think that you're not going to get many takers because of the fear. They don't know if they're going to be in business, so they don't want to encumber themselves with a loan that they may have to personally be liable for. Steve had mentioned that we had discussed this notion of a grant, which Steve, you said is not possible. What about a loan that's at least partially forgivable, or maybe a micro loan that's a forgivable loan? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, and so so we specifically asked both the New York State Budget Office yesterday about that, and that was covered in the comptroller's opinion that was written back in, you know, a decade plus ago. They indicated that even a forgivable loan, you know, is considered a gift of public funds.
So that was 10 years ago, because maybe they'd look at it differently today.
Well, no, so our council reached out to the New York State Comptroller's Office, and that is the current standing opinion of New York State, that municipalities are not allowed to either give a grant or a forgivable loan to a business per the New York State Constitution.
Okay,
and so the KLDC in a similar position of the New York State Budget Authority's office. Again, doesn't they could allow an interest-free loan, but they can't allow us to do a grant.
So what's the recourse? If someone can't repay, then what happens? Are they personally liable without the loans that we're talking about here?
Well, normally from a legal point of view, you would want to have the person personally liable as well as the corporate entity if they have one.
Right, of course. But I'm saying in these times, what if we made it non-recourse? So that
I think we've better off extending the term.
But again, people don't want to owe money. They're afraid. So I'm suggesting a non-recourse
Yeah,
loan.
if they want money, they're going to owe it.
What's that?
If they're going to borrow money, they're going to owe it.
Well,
Yeah.
but if they go out of business, they're afraid of not staying in business. So if they go out of business, then can we forgive it because it's not a non-recourse loan? It won't be forgivable. Just we're not going to attach to them personally.
I think from my perspective as like a small business owner, low income individual myself, if I was talking about a $75,000 loan that I had to be personally liable for, I'd be a lot more hesitant than a quick infusion of $7,500 into my business.
Right.
You know, because I can scratch that up, you know, a lot easier than 50K. But that's just my perspective, and I'm not sure that we're going to get anything passed through this board that's forgivable personally.
From a banker's perspective, the answer to that, Don, would be no.
Amen to that, BA.
We would normally ask, obviously you never make a bad loan. Loans go bad. That happens.
Yeah.
There are going to be a percentage.
From a banker.
There will be a percentage of loans that we offer that, yes, will go bad. The trick would be to try and minimize that on the front end. Normally we would ask, as George had said, you would ask for the corporate guarantee or the individual guarantee so that there is some additional efforts to make the payments throughout the process. As a banker, I would not recommend reducing or minimizing that at all.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Al Pito. I'd like to say something about the time frame of 60 days. I think with everything that's happening and possibly opening up on a schedule, I think the time frame should narrow it down to 45 days. And you make a loan, you got to pay the loan. That's the old banker talking about. And if it's a restaurant business, that's a very risky business. Okay, so you really got to check your liabilities and assets.
What the rules are when they reopen. You know, there's a restaurant that has seating for 100 people. You know, just as an example, all of a sudden say they got to separate and they only can have 50 people or 40 people or something like that. Have to social distance or whatever the proper term is now.
That's a very good point.
So one of the things that maybe, again, this is something that is, and I know that this is somewhat outside of, I think for me, one of the biggest things that I want to be able to do is to help, you know, better kind of sell this product. And I do think that, you know, there are businesses, especially some of our kind of lower income, newer, super micro businesses that we have where, you know, as Miles indicated, you know, $7,500 could actually go a long way between whether they're actually going to make it through this or not. If we are able to do, for instance, a no interest loan of $7,500 where we will not take the first payment until a year after the loan is given, to allow these businesses to get back on their feet before we actually start the payment schedule. So basically defer, you know, the payments until say a year from now. I mean, that. Are
we allowed to defer for a year? I would be in favor of deferring, but I don't know if we can defer for a year.
Yeah, and so again, that's the kind of like product change that I would see. At this point, I don't think we need to put any more money into the program because we could always come back to the board to ask if, you know, if this goes well, we can get more funding allocated. But I do think that I think if we're able to be a little bit creative on, some of those details, even if we can't forgive something, or even if we don't change the type of collateral we're taking, I think we could at least, make the product be a little bit more useful to some of our, lower income, newer businesses that I know right now don't have a banker and are really, that they can call, and that are, definitely struggling. This could be anywhere from like places like Tubby's, to places like the comic book shop, to like a whole bunch of different, places that I could think of, that could probably use this kind of influx at this point.
This is Glenn. Let's just remember, whatever we loan, that it is public monies that we're giving out.
The other part of this is Glenn. The other part of the loan consideration is that we seek collateral. So it's not just giving a loan. The loan, the people who apply for it need to meet certain requirements. Now, maybe our group, we could look at that the level of the requirements are reduced from what our expectations are. We look at the credit score, we look at the financials. So even at best, it takes time, and the loan that we're going to give is typically to a quality individual or business. So it's not just signing the name. I mean, I think if we're going to do this, maybe the level of on a specific or one time or program basis that we should look at the criteria that we loan money. Because I wouldn't want to give somebody the wrong idea that you'll get a $7,500 loan quickly. There is a backbone to this. So, BA, I think you could.
I'd personally be a lot more comfortable with this. I'd put myself in my own perspective as a small business owner and trying to get off the ground. And if I had the opportunity to leverage the assets of my business as well as look at the cash flows from my business for previous years, obviously I don't have that, but if others could, to collateralize the loan and to meet a certain criteria, I think people would be a lot more open to that than a personal guarantee. If we could make that an option for business owners, I think that would be conducive to getting more people to sign up for this. And I am personally in favor of a 6 month to a year deferment. I think that would go a long way. And then the issue of interest, of course, 0 would be great for me. But I don't know. I think 1% or something like that would allow us to recoup the cost and incur further cash flows. So I'm not sure exactly the criteria. I've not been privy to that conversation, but if we could make it more so on the collateralization of the business assets, I'm sure a lot of these businesses have equipment and other resources that they could put up and not have to put their own, a car on the line or whatever it may be.
Well, that's what happened before. We had a lot of freezers. We had a lot of restaurant freezers that we had.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rich. That's very true. I think as a banker, you need a personal guarantee, and any assets they have has to be as collateral. And as Rich has said, over the years, we've got freezers, toilet bowls, and stuff like that had really no value when you want to sell it. I mean, if they buy it for $5,000 today for a new freezer, let's say, 3 years from now, maybe $1,500. That doesn't cover much on the loan, and try to get your money back.
Well, I think it is different. It's good for us to just remember that some of those loans that we collateralized restaurants were in the hundreds of $1,000s range. And I think that's when we ended up with a lot of freezers. I think for $7,500 to hold the business responsible for that LLC or that, corporation, most folks have those kinds of assets. you know, pretty easily. And it may make the program a little bit cleaner and simpler if, you know, our goal is to, you know, and again, maybe it's an option and maybe it's really, it can be up to the finance committee and to have each individual specific institution, you know, and I think our application is broad enough that maybe that's already in there that gives us the ability to have those discussions with the applicant about what would make sense for that applicant. Because some may want to just take the personal loan because it's less paperwork and it's less whatever, and others may want to have it be based on their business, and maybe we can work with them on that. Because I do think that this $7,500 loan program is very different than the gap financing where we can provide, you know, a whole lot more money for projects. And I think that we're not talking about that pool right now, and that I don't plan on or proposing to change that program. But I do think for this kind of micro loan program, I do think that if there's ways for us to be able to, you know, make sure that we're again being flexible, and I think that that's how the application is written right now, is to be flexible. But I think if we could agree on a lower interest and a deferment, you know, that could go a long way in helping us to, you know, be able to sell this program on the street a whole lot better. BA?
Steve, I would just, most of the banks are looking at a 90-day deferment to 180 days. I would certainly suggest if we consider that we try and keep that in that time frame. We then match up with most of the financial institutions. Going out 12 months is certainly very generous, although there is a possibility that during that 12 months, the business may not succeed. So, you know.
Right, and I think that we ought to.
I would rather know sooner than later, I guess.
DA, I'm a great one for compromise, and I was looking for 90 days as a deferral, but if we can go to a year, I wouldn't be opposed to that if after 6 months there's some collateral that we don't lose the whole thing. You know, at least 50% of it might be collateralized, so that might be $3,700 or whatever.
But that may make the simple process that much more complicated. And I think all of us are looking to try and make this as simple as possible, as quick a turnaround as possible. I don't know if reevaluating 6
but I
months
can see this turning into a fact that whatever we loan, we won't get back anything. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
that goes back to the underwriting standards. If we can evaluate that with the documentation coming in with the application, presented to the full board for discussion and decision, it's then
becomes like a bank committee. Becomes like a bank committee.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you know, we are always, and I know that we've, as a KLDC, you know, we have tried to not compete against banks because we are not a bank and we are different than a bank, you know, but we do have, you know, our role is to really do economic development, you know, as an organization. And I think that, you know, as an economic development organization, we have to take risks, maybe more so than a bank would, because a bank is not in the job of doing economic development per se. And so that's not their mission per se. So I just think that we do recognize that there is some risk in the work that we do. And I think that by creating this microloan program to begin with, I think we really are trying to reduce our risk by not giving out large loans like we used to. And so I do think that there is an opportunity here if we can, you know, get more of these loans out on the street. I think that the community can say, wow, you know, look at our local development corporation. They're actually helping. Right now, if we're not able to get our loans to be better than the banks, you know, there's really no point of our organization being in the loan business then if no one's using our product. And, you know, I just think that that's a concern. And again, I think we've seen that with the small business loan program already, that even in good times, no one was using the program. So now that we're in some tough times, you know, what is going to get people to want to use our program now, especially when there's all of these other programs and the banks are all stepping up to help, which is great. I'm just worried that, you know, we're again going to be left behind. And we seem somewhat kind of arbitrary in terms of an economic development corporation. And again, I know we have the business park, that's all working fine, but there's this whole other part of the rest of the city. You know, what are we doing to help those businesses? And I don't think we have been able to kind of nail that down yet. And so maybe a deferment. Again, I'm flexible on the deferment time. You know, I proposed a year because I just thought that, you know, when we're looking at some of these businesses, we're going to probably look at some of what the last 2 or 3 good years look like to be able to see whether they could pay this loan back. And it's going to take them a while to build back up to being back in their kind of the good times, if you will, where they will be able to then pay off this loan. And I am just not sure how long this recovery is going to take. And, you know, in 60 to 180 days from now, we may still not have our businesses reopened yet. And so I'm a little worried about that because we really don't know yet. And that's why I do think it's going to take us some time to be able to kind of get back, you know, if there ever is a normal. I'm not sure we're going to see normal again for a while. That is why I was thinking a year, but maybe it's 6 months. Maybe it's, you know,
it might be virtual like we're doing.
Yes, it's virtual. So,
but I just want to say the committee was charged with giving an opinion, and I think we did. Everybody got a copy of it. But I would think that one of the things we should do is there was mentioned before in a meeting by someone that people have gone to the banks and have not been able to get anything because of whatever. And that would be a criteria for me, is that if the bank said or the government said they can't have money, that we would be able to help them. Because I think the committee has said we want to help local business because that's the mission of the KLDC.
go ahead, Mandy.
I have a couple of things. So when we came up with the microloan, it was for startup businesses that couldn't get traditional financing from the banks. But the questions, I have a few questions. Normally on the application, we ask them what the use of the funds are going to be. And are we still going to do that? Or are we just going to say, okay, you know, here's the money, kind of do whatever you want? I mean, because we had a system where, you know, if they're using it for startup or capital or purchasing real estate, I mean, we knew what was happening and they had to give us, you know, either quotes or, you know, real estate, something. They had to show us something that they were buying. I mean, I don't care how you guys handle this. I just need to know so that I can kind of come up with something, you know what I mean? And then my other question is, the social distancing, how am I supposed to get the applicants to get me their applications? And then how do I get the information to the finance committee? Because now I'm handling their social security number just like I did in the office. So we'd have to figure out how I get with the finance committee so that they can review everything and then get back to all of you guys.
We're going to have to see what the law says.
Yeah, I mean, I think for your second question there, I mean, my sense would be that, you know, we would move to a all digital, you know, electronic application. I think that, you know, we can now, there could be electronic signatures. I don't know if any of our paperwork needs to be notarized, but, you know, the state now allows, you know, electronic notarization. So I think that accepting the applications kind of, you know, via email, you know, is going to be just how, and then it'll be shared with the finance committee via email.
My only concern is, do we have a something in place where once they send us their information, like they're going to give us their social security number? I mean, my concern is I don't want that to get out there for other people.
Don't do it on Zoom, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the applications are, you know, if you receive them via email and share them via email, I mean, right now, I mean, we get job applications, you know, emailed to us all the time with, you know, social security numbers on. And, you know, I think if, Mandy, if something you're concerned with, you know, when you get the application, you know, you could, you know, block out any of those types of details before you send it to the finance committee if you're concerned about privacy, because I don't think anyone on the finance committee needs that kind of detail.
Right. And once it gets on our server, it's pretty secure because of our Barracuda and everything, right?
Yes. Yep. I'm not concerned too much about that. And I do think that, making sure that, with this loan program, I mean, I think it is, generic enough that, we may basically, they may not have a specific project that they're working on. It really may just be operating capital. And, maybe we just need to be clear that, maybe in the past you maybe needed to turn in something to say that you're buying a new fridge with a $7,500, but now, I think if we can be clear that, we also can fund operating expenses, and it can be, we don't need proof of an actual purchase or a construction project. And if that's not in the application, maybe we could put that in the application.
You can just call it economic relief funding, like that's what people are no one's gonna be investing right now. It's not business as usual at all.
They're just covering expenses.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm sorry. Application.
Amanda, have we seen any deferment requests? I assume we have to abide. What BA is talking about, the 90 days is actually a mandatory thing. Our existing loans, have you had requests in for deferments?
Is that Brad?
Yeah.
Okay. The only people that have reached out to me are the restaurants that we have, and we don't have very many restaurants because they've always kind of gone bad. But
we plan on abiding by that deferment, I assume, correct? Or do you need us to take it? I mean, we pretty much have to if they show they're hurt.
Well, I gave them 3 months, and we could revisit that.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Now, is that principal and interest?
Yes.
Yes, they got a deferment for 3 months, and then it would have to be tacked on at the end of the loan.
Yeah. And going to what the mayor said earlier, Steve, I agree 100%. I mean, this thing was started up as the lender of last resort. I don't think we should forget that. And it was done with federal programs, some of which some were grants, some we had to pay back, and we all know that. So we do have some money. Clearly, I disagree. I think our microloan program is not working because the fact that nobody's taking us up on it. We should be below where the local banks are, where any of the commercial banks are. That's what our intent was initially. Once we stop doing that, if we start acting like a bank, there's no sense for us to exist. And I agree 100%. Whatever we could do, I think we should do. The questions, we could do a simple use of proceeds like the SBA is doing. Pat, the SBA money is on the street. It's actually, the PPP program's actually, they're running out of money today, but several local businesses have been funded already. And then they have a 3.75 30-year product, the EIDL program, which, if a business can apply for that and get it, that's the direction they go. So this microloan program, it might be easier, kind of going to what Miles said, start a new program, either change the rules in the microloan or start a new one, which is an economic injury disaster loan fund of $75,000, max it at $7,500. Make them give us a use of proceeds. I mean, the whole idea behind the SBA program, which is great, is they're making you put money back in the street. The PPP is paying your employees, but it also allows you to pay your rent and interest on your mortgage and stuff. So I think it's fair that we ask anybody who's getting one of these loans to show us what they're going to do with the money, just so we know it is reinvigorating the economy. We got to set the rules. It's going to be first come, first serve. That's what the SBA program was. It was first come, first serve, and now it's dried up. So recognize you're going to have a problem with that. And their program is 1%. We certainly shouldn't be any higher than that. That's my 2 cents. And I would absolutely support putting something out there right now. And you could argue we could even bypass the committee structure and just go straight to the board so we can get these things on the street quicker.
The question arises,
Yeah,
how
we can do what we're doing today. We can do what we're doing today. We do it by phone or virtual or whatever they call it these days.
Absolutely.
Is there a mechanism for us to market it better? Brad, I don't disagree. I mean, the program's been there since day one, and folks have not taken advantage of it, that's for sure. I just don't know, how do we get it out there so people are aware? And that's always been
Well, maybe you lessen some of the constraints we had on it and make it more attractive from an interest rate. We are more expensive. I'm not gonna name the local bank. There's a local bank out there right now, BA, you know, it is 10-year fixed 2.75. So our numbers aren't competitive. And again, you bring it down to the dollars and cents, and that makes sense. But I'm not sure the small business owner always has the wherewithal to do that. And look, it's only $16 a month or $20 a month. Going to Pat thing, it's psychologically, they're taking on debt, they're starting a business, and they're, picking up the paper and seeing 3%, 3.5%, and we're telling them we want 4% in their firstborn child.
So, I mean, I guess at this point, we've definitely talked about this for a bit, and so just to kind of move on, I don't know if I have the ability to do this, but if we had a motion to amend the program to have a 1% interest rate with a 6-month deferment, would I have consensus from the board that we could alter the program to meet those needs?
Second.
All right, so who can motion that? I probably shouldn't motion that as the president. So could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, but I just do want to add that we do want to make sure we do have some sort of use of proceeds, and we want to make sure they can show, which is going to be very easy for the people we're talking about to do, that they were negatively impacted by the virus.
Great. Yep, and we'll have the finance committee, kind of work on that when these applications come in.
And the max amount is $7,500, right?
Yes.
And the total that the KLDC is giving stays the same, right? I mean, the board would have to come back and authorize additional funds if we need it.
Correct. I think that, Mandy, how much is in that account currently?
62.5, I think it is.
Yeah. So I think if we launch this program and if we get a dozen applications in the first week, I think as we come back to the board to review those applications, in a few weeks from now, then we'll also then review, the money situation to see, how much and, we would want to put into the program going forward. But for now, I'm not suggesting we need to put more money in there. Let's just see if this kind of relaxed, program with the relaxed interest rate and the deferment helps. And again, from a publicity point of view, I've been doing daily briefings. We've been getting a lot of good publicity about the work that we're doing. And so my communications team can definitely help get the word out about this. And I think that this will be a new innovative product that, I think we'll be able to, get the word out on the street. And I think all of our business organizations can also help us. I mean, there's not as much happening right now. And so I think that, everything from the Business Alliance of Kingston to Cuba to the Roundout Business Association, I think that they will all help us, get this message out about this program. And Mandy can work up a quick change to the kind of flyer that we have, and I can ask my kind of graphics team to help put together something to be able to get something on Facebook and kind of get it out to our business community that way. So
does KLDC have a website?
We do.
Me too.
So, yep, we'll have a couple of different places that we can get it up on. And so I heard it first, and I believe, and then a second. Do I have an all in favor on this?
Who's the second?
I think, yeah.
I second
it. Yeah.
I have another question.
I think Brad made the motion.
Yeah, Brad made the motion.
I'm not sure who seconded it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second it if it needs a second.
Yeah, Mandy, go ahead.
Are we waiving the fees for the application?
Is there a fee? How much
Yes.
is the fee?
The fee for this,
I don't know if I remember seeing that on there.
yeah. I just have to, I've got two computers going. I just got to get it.
If there is a fee. I'm comfortable with adding that to the motion, Steve, to waive the fee. And I also would suggest you increase the money in the account. I'm not sure we need a motion, but fund it up to 75,000. So you'll have 10 loans that we have already allotted for it. If you need us to come back, we can come back. Because you have an odd amount in there, you might as well just make it 75,000.
Second.
Well,
Mandy, go ahead.
I need to amend the motion then, because there is a $100 application fee.
All right, so we're gonna, okay. So we're gonna amend the motion to add, on top of the 6-month deferment and the 1% interest rate, we're going to add, we're gonna waive the $100 application fee. And what was the other thing, Brad, that you mentioned?
To increase the balance in that account to 75,000, so we'll have funding for up to 10 loans, and then if you need more, we can reconvene.
Okay.
But it gets you started with an even 10 loans.
All right, so Brad will made that amendment to the motion. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, so Rich, and then, so all in favor on that amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Pretty good.
This virtual thing is killing me.
Yeah, we're doing good though. We're trying.
I know, but I wasn't done.
Okay.
So with that amendment, we're also going to waive the administration fee, not George's fee, because we still have to pay him. But there's a 1% administration fee for all loans. So we're going to waive that
On top
too.
of the application fee.
Mhm.
Huh. All right. Yeah. I would propose that we can deal without that too. So
Okay.
we want to amend it one more time.
Yep. Go
I
ahead.
got it.
Yeah. So we're going to reduce, for these loans, we're going to reduce the administrative 1% fee on these loans.
What do
And
we
let me
want
take
to
it a step. What's George's fee? Because going back, we know we can't issue a grant, but we can waive fees. Going to what Don was originally saying, the SBA loans, the beauty of them is there is 0 fee to any of the customers. So you're dealing with the people that, well, I'm assuming can't get the SBA loan. So our standards certainly should not be higher than what, larger businesses are getting. So
Right.
I don't know what.
And one of the things I would think is that a criteria would be that they applied and they've been turned down, that they can't get money.
I think we have that criteria for the gap loan financing, like the larger grant program, but I don't think we have that for the $7,500 program. Mandy.
What are we going to name this? You can't name it the micro loan. We should name it something else because it is separate, because we do have someone that took advantage of the micro loan who's actually paying their 4%. You know what I mean?
Or the economic
so we should,
injury loan fund.
Yeah, or the the Kingston Recovery Loan Fund, maybe.
There you go. Kingston Economic Injury Loan Fund.
Okay. And once I get the new application together, I'll send it out to everybody to look at before it goes live. Is that okay?
Okay,
great.
That's fine.
Okay.
So I don't know if
Anybody that's not in favor? Anybody that's not in favor?
All right. So I think did I have a second on the motion to amend it one more time to reduce the administrative fee? All right, so Hayes is going to second that. And then, so all in favor on that one? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Great. Thank you all for that. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to add today?
No, I think we beat this to death.
So will there be a write-up that goes out to the banks?
Yeah, we will put together, some quick press and promo material as best we can and get it out to all of our contacts, and we'll try to get something out to, and Mandy can work on getting this out to the banks too, just so that their loan officers know in case they have a client that, needs a little bit of extra help, we can get that out to them. And so we'll make up something real quick. And Mandy, we can talk offline, but Addie has been really helpful in getting some quick graphic stuff done for us. And so you and I can talk, and I'm sure if we send her what we want, she'll make us up something nice, whether it's a flyer or some sort of Facebook graphics. she can do that for us.
I liked Pat's idea also of going, kind of door to door with safety, to talk to specific businesses, and I'm willing to help out on that, Pat, too, if you want to pursue it that way.
Great. I'll follow
Also,
up.
Lisa Berger and Pat Ryan have been doing like a weekly webinar. So I don't know where we're at with that relationship, but we'll get a lot of people, I think, if they promote it.
Yeah, Mandy's been pretty much in touch with Lisa on a constant basis, and so once this program is put together the next day or two, we'll have Mandy reach right out to Lisa, and we'll see if they can help us promote it and get it out to their contacts too. It's a great idea.
Great.
This is Glenn again. Just a question for direction for the loan committee, the finance committee. We have evaluated loan applications in the past, and we have been pretty diligent, thorough in the review of the applications. With these new applications, our goal has always been with the thought that we're going to get repaid on these loans. Is your expectation, is the board's expectation that on the new applications that we should be processing these with the intent that we're going to get repaid on these loans, or are we going to look differently? And if we are, what would you want us to do differently?
I mean, my personal sense is that, we should definitely always want to get repaid. I think that should also be a goal, because, we are supposed to, financially look after these funds. They are public monies. And so, of course, we want to get paid. I do think that, when we're looking at these applications, there's certain things that maybe we would have looked at in the past, like, recent cash flow, or which we're obviously going to have to look a little bit at a wider picture of how this business was doing a year ago, or 6 months ago.
Roots in the community.
Sorry, I didn't hear you on that one.
I just said roots in the community. Have they been in the community for a while?
Yeah, and I think that we're going to get a mix, right? So we're going to get a mix of businesses that have been here for a long time that, are just really down on their luck and down on their feet. And then I think we're going to get the businesses that may have opened 2 years ago that have been, going rock star, and then all of a sudden this happened and they didn't have the capital built up. They didn't have their savings account.
And really, I think one of the things is that it's no fault of their own. This virus just came upon everybody.
And so I think that is the thing that, I would ask the finance committee to kind of keep in mind. That is, if this business was doing well a month ago, and then now all of a sudden, they're asking for money. I think that we should have some faith in the fact that, when things start back up again, that, they should be able to repay this loan. But even that, I do think that we need to make sure that we are, supporting, some of our new minority-owned businesses, some of our women-owned businesses that have been struggling, that may not have had access to all of the same programs that everyone else has had access to. So I do think that I have faith in the finance committee, and that to put forward some really good applications. I think that and again we'll be doing this all remotely, so I would encourage as applications come in that we kind of hop on these web calls and we kind of just get these applications reviewed together and approved quickly. And I think that everyone sees the positives of doing that. Andy?
I would think they have to show an ability to repay.
Yeah.
Whether they do or not, there's going to be risk. We know there's going to be risk, but in any loan, particularly with public funds, they have to show an ability to repay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, Mandy?
2 things. SBA is now out of money. That email just came in. They're not taking any more applications. Secondly, what do we do about businesses like Miles, who just started his, and he doesn't, we're talking about people that can show us that they've had decent returns for 2 years. What about somebody like Miles who just started? What are we going to ask for people, from people who are like Miles, who just started their business, where they don't have 2 years to show? or I don't think a year. I don't know what Miles has, but I mean, I'm just saying.
He's got a coming soon sign. And, you know, I think that that's the thing is that, you know, there is going to have to be a little bit of like my gut feeling on this one. Like for some of these folks who can prove that, you know, their business is about to start, was about to open. I mean, we've had, as we know, until January, you know, there were dozens of businesses on Broadway that, you know, for instance, in Uptown and Downtown that are all been under construction, about to open. And now this hit. And so that has really, you know, put a kink in everyone's capital and an ability. So I do think that there has to be, you know, a little bit of like, if someone like Miles comes in and says, hey, look, this is my business plan. Everything was going well until this happened. I need $7,500 to see me through this. Then I think that that's an acceptable, you know, means also at that point.
Okay.
And from a critical standpoint, again, Community Capital New York was offering like just a $10,000 quick infusion solely based on credit score of the applicant. So that's one way to do it, but of course, a lot of people won't meet that criteria. So let's look at it case by case, I think.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, again, Miles, I think if, you know, I can have my communications team also maybe get some of the details from Community Capital, and maybe we can help promote that program locally as well.
Yeah, if they're still doing it, but yeah, for sure, that's good.
Yeah. Anyone have anything else that they'd like to add today?
No, I think we beat this horse to death.
Well, I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everybody's efforts and, you know, working with me on this. I think it's going to help, you know, our businesses here in Kingston. Andy, do you have something?
No, I was just, do we have to do the minutes or anything like that?
So I don't know if we don't think we sent out any minutes from last month. So we'll get that in the future.
Good.
So.
Thank you.
I just want to tell Pat I appreciate her message to try and help me, but I managed it. Thank you.
Yes, you did great.
Yeah.
I put the Community Capital New York loan program in the chat box if you all want to take a look.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn off the recording now.
It's a good way to do it.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So
moved.
I'll second.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Be well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Come on.